Good evening. It's Saturday. I was about to say it was Monday. It's not. It's Saturday, and I thought, do you know what? After 20 episodes of Nervous Chat, where obviously I ask the questions all the time of the guests, that maybe it was about time I gave people a bit of an opportunity to ask me some questions. So tonight is just totally unscripted. It's an opportunity for people to come in and just ask me whatever they'd like to know, really. Good evening, Abby. Thank you for joining. And good evening, Steve. Thank you for joining. As I said, it's just a little Q&A session I thought I'd set up, quite hurriedly put together. Evening, Chester. Thanks for joining. But this is your opportunity, guys, to just ask me anything you want to ask me about me, my plans, just anything at all. But pop your questions in the live chat. Obviously, I'll bring the questions up on the screen and we can take it from there. I hope everyone's having a good Saturday evening and enjoying your weekend. I know weekends are quite hard when theme parks are closed. And I appreciate, it's a difficult time for a lot of people, not being able to get to their favorite parks and to get on their favorite roller coasters. Thankfully, we are edging ever closer to opening day, and I can now officially announce that I will be at Alton Towers on opening day, the 18th of March. And I'm going to be there with everybody that you saw in Nervous Chat on Monday. So that'll be Sam Coaster Tog, James Coaster Chicken, Dale Coaster Capturer, Steve Thrills and Food. I believe that Andy from Rand's Adventures is joining us. I also believe that Theme Park Insanity are likely to be there. So it should be a good meetup, guys. So if you can make it to Alton Towers on the 18th of March, please do. It would be lovely to see you. Let us know that you're there, and obviously we'll do our best to meet up with people and say hi. I've made it part of my New Year's resolution this year to meet even more of the people that I interact with on YouTube and on Instagram. So that's the plan. That's where we're going. Bear with me. Just had a first question come in from Abby. Can I go to Thorpe Park on your birthday? Remind me of the date of your birthday, Abby. I am trying to see if I can make it, because obviously you have been a great supporter of mine, and I met you at Fright Nights with Mum, and I believe Mum's watching with you. So hi, Abby's mum. Hope you're well. Hope you've had a nice Christmas. So yes, I will endeavour to make it to Thorpe Park for your birthday, Abby. Please let me know the exact date of that, and I'll see what I can do. Absolutely. Good evening to the Mediocre Travel Blog, Ellie and Richard, who you'll be seeing more of on Monday. They are Monday night's guests on Nervous Chat. So please join us Monday, 8 p.m, when I'll be talking to Ellie and Richard from the Mediocre Travel Blog, who I've discovered actually only live up the road from me, which is absolutely fantastic. So hopefully I'll get to see a lot more of those guys in and around the park. 31st of March, 1st of April. Okay, Abby, I'll see what I can do about that one. Mrs. Swarm, I like it. I like it, Abby. Tell Mum I like the name Mrs. Swarm. That's great. Chester, New Year's resolution, start vlogging, gain some more confidence, and keep the Cappy Man rolling on YouTube. Absolutely, mate. Get out there, get doing it, I was in the same position a year ago, recording my first vlog, which I whacked up on Instagram today for a bit of a laugh, and for those people who possibly had missed it when it came out. It was a very raw vlog, very sort of honest from the heart about who I am and where I was coming from. If you haven't seen it before, please go and check it out, but forgive the really, really bad filming, editing, etc. I knew nothing about filming or editing at that point. The entire thing was filmed in one go, and I literally filmed it and uploaded it one hit. So please forgive that, but it's my backstory. It's who I am and where I've come from. So yeah, check it out if you haven't already. It does give you a bit of an idea of where I am and who I am and where I've come from. Hi, John, Kelly Family Adventures. Lovely to see you here. Loved meeting you guys back at Thorpe Park in, I think it was July, wasn't it? Was it July? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was towards the end of July, wasn't it? We met at Carnival. So yeah, hopefully we'll get to meet up again soon. And also, as I spoke to you about the other day, about you coming in to do a Nervous Chat episode as well, would be absolutely lovely to get you in. Good evening to the Coaster Capturers. Yay! Coaster Capturers are in the house. Evening, Dale, and possibly Jess. Lovely to have you guys on board. Great to have you in the studio. And thank you for joining me Monday for our Nervous Chat. Absolutely awesome Nervous Chat. If you haven't checked that out, guys, by the way, literally it was 5 of us. We're all very good friends outside of YouTube now. We met via Instagram, and we all came into the studio on Monday for a good old chat and a bit of a review of 2022. And yeah, it was a great episode. Really enjoyed making that episode. It was literally chatting with some of my best friends. So if you haven't already checked that out, go and have a look. That was Nervous Chat's 20th episode special. Evening, Ollie. Thank you for joining Twisted Tracks. Lovely to see you. I was talking to Ollie the other day about, I don't know if you people remember, both he and a friend of his, Theme Parks All Over, produced a quiz show earlier on in the year, which was loosely based on The Chase. And he contacted me the other day telling me that they're planning to do a second episode, and would I be interested in taking part? And I absolutely would be, of course. So yeah, so I'm quite looking forward to that. It'll be nice to be a guest on a show rather than the host all the time. Sometimes being the host can be a bit tiring, I'm not going to lie. I leave this studio on a Monday night absolutely zapped, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I absolutely love hosting Nervous Chat. Absolutely love my show, and onwards and upwards for the show. Already got guests booked right the way through, pretty much till March. So yeah, we're marching on, and things are just going to hopefully get better and better. Absolutely, Steve. Best advice there for Chester. Just get out there and start the vlogging. Don't care about what anybody thinks. It doesn't matter what they think. It does, it's a personal thing, vlogging. Just do it. You'll find that there are so many other people doing it that actually you won't feel like the odd person out. You'll feel like the people who aren't vlogging are the odd people out these days. There are so many people vlogging at parks these days. And when you start vlogging, you'll really begin to notice those people. So yeah, definitely just get out there and just give it a whirl. Really, John, I hadn't realized that you actually don't edit. Crikey, I'm losing the live. There we go, the live chat here. There we go. I didn't realize that you didn't actually edit them. You must be so good at filming them first hit that they just don't need editing. But some people don't. Some people just like to put them out raw as they are, and that's their style. And it was and that's you know, each to their own. I like to edit mine because I quite often film loads and loads of stuff that actually afterwards I look back and go, why on earth did I film that? So it gives me that opportunity to cut those bits out. But and also my annoying anxious cough that I do, which you've probably heard. You may not have realized at the time that you've heard it, but you will have definitely heard it when I start to get anxious and start to go. You'll hear it quite a lot, and I do it during nervous chat sometimes as well. It's just an anxious tick, if you like, that I have. Speaking of nervous chat, would I be able to hop on the pod? Considering age and consent in play, of course. As it stands, I don't have a problem with bringing people in who are under the age of 16, as long as I've got consent from a parent or guardian, because obviously it's a live stream. I don't control who's watching. I can't control who's watching. So absolutely, I'm more than happy to have young guests on, as long as, you know, I've had some kind of nod from a parent or guardian that they're happy for that person to come on board, because it's you know, it's all to do with safeguarding and internet security, which obviously I'm all about. It's my background, especially protecting young people. So so absolutely, Chester, I would love to have you on board. We will talk about that in DMs at a later date. It was July, John. Yes, I thought it was July. Yeah, but it was that really lovely sunny day, wasn't it, at Thorpe Park? I was there with David Blythe, I think it was. And yeah, we met at around by the carnival stage, wasn't it? I think you were getting drinks in that area. And definitely, wow, Florida meetup. Whoa, that's some traveling there, John, for a meetup. But I know you were doing a Florida trip, weren't you, when we spoke in July? That was the next thing on the cards. So and it did look like you had a great trip. To be absolutely fair, I was quite jealous of trip. I'm always jealous of people's foreign park trips. I don't tend to get out of the UK very much, so I am hoping this year to make at least one European park trip, whether it's as a single person, if you like, with a group of the lads, or as a family. We are looking at Efteling as a possible family holiday short break destination this year. So I'm hopeful that we will get to at least one European park this year, which will absolutely blow my mind. So and it will really challenge my anxiety. I'm not going to lie, that's going to absolutely challenge my anxiety in a park with foreign language, etc. And yeah, so that's going to be a thing. Oh, there we go, Chester. Abby's offering to vlog with you. Do you know what? Sometimes vlogging as a pair is great. You can play off each other. Some of my best vlogs have been when I've been out with TJ or with somebody else that I can bounce off, you know, and not feel like I'm carrying the entire thing myself. I love vlogging with TJ, actually. We have such great banter, as you will have seen in our vlogs. You know, I talk about the Chesington Tiger incident a lot, but yeah, it was one of our finest moments. Absolutely loved that that visit to Chesington, and the vlog was made particularly great by TJ's participation, shall we say. So I'm going to try and get him involved in a lot more vlogs this year. You know, I've always wanted to be a family channel, but it's difficult. You know, G-Man is still very young. He wants to be part of it, but he gets very shy. You know, but he does what he does, and he's starting to come more out of himself. TJ's a lot more out there, which is you know, which is easier for me to then play off. So that's great. Ollie, trying to be at Towers opening day. Got premium money pass for Christmas. Oh, nice. So you already know more vlogs at more parks and Merlin attractions. Fantastic, though. You'll have to get yourself down to Chesington and to Thorpe Park, Ollie. And when you do come down, obviously let me know, and I'll try to be around. Yes, of course you were there during the hurricane, weren't you, John? Yes, yes, of course. Yeah, I imagine that was quite a scary time, but thankfully you made it home safe and sound, and we're obviously very grateful for that. But that's lovely that you've met them and that you're now friends. As I was saying at the beginning about myself and Steve and Dale, Coaster Capturer, Steve Thrills and Food, Sam Coaster Tog, James Coaster Chicken. We met through YouTube and Instagram, and and we've just clicked, and we've become great friends. We speak to each other on a daily basis now, which is absolutely lovely. Portaventura, Ollie, wow, that would be an awesome trip. I've seen so many vlogs from Portaventura recently, and it just looks unbelievable. I think Parks and Pints were there for New Year's Eve even, and it just looked absolutely awesome. So yeah, Efteling seems like an incredible park, tons of theming. However, already feeling quite anxious about Plopsa and Lego Billund and Energylandia. Not so much, but it's still there. Of course, Chester, any new park, I've said this before, especially if you have anxieties already, will make you more anxious. You don't know the park, you don't know the rides, and the best advice I can give is just watch as many POVs about the rides as you can, and just prepare yourself that way, and familiarize yourself with the park, the layout, what's there, all those kind of things actually really help me certainly prepare for days at the parks. So and especially new parks, and try and plan as much as you can. I know it's difficult with a park to plan, but it does help. It does help alleviate some of those anxieties, as I'm sure Coaster Chicken would agree. Planning a trip to Legoland soon. Fantastic, John. I'm probably gonna. I tend to make one trip to Legoland a year, just because I'm not a Legoland fan. It doesn't really hold any attraction for me, and so we tend to go there. I like to go there because I like the Haunted House Monster Party. I like Skylion. I like to get my annual trip on Dragon and my annual trip on Mia's Riding School Adventure, whatever it happens to be called this year. But otherwise, I just find it quite a dull park for me personally. Now that I've become a thrill seeker, Legoland doesn't hold massive appeal. It's lovely to look at, and it's great to take the kids to, and they love it, of course. And I've got my youngest who will definitely be hitting 90 centimeters at some point this season. So there will be trips to Legoland, I'm sure, for his benefit, because it will be the park that offers him the most with regards to a ride offering. But for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Legoland. So it's not what I tend to go to very often. But I do try to make one trip a year just to go and check it out, see if anything's changed. I will obviously be going there once they open up their new coaster. But obviously I don't know when that's likely to be yet. So once I know about that, I'll definitely be planning to go and get that as a cred and do a little vlog about that one. So yeah, that will be a thing. Doing a weekend of that, 100% to let you know. Yeah, absolutely, Ollie. Yeah, you got to let me know, mate. I think it'll be great to meet up and certainly spend the day at Thorpe Park. I can usually manage one park a weekend. Two stretches it a little bit. I'm not as young as I used to be, or as fit as I used to be. Although Run Alton Towers showed me that I'm probably a bit fitter than I think I am. So although I think the Christmas cake and Christmas treats have probably undone all the training that I did for Run Alton Towers now. So I'll be starting again in January from square one. Back to training, back to healthy eating, the lot. cardio, running, resistance band training, all of that has all got to come back into my my routine, because yeah, it's all slipped and gone horribly pear-shaped over Christmas, and I'm very surprised that I'm not pear-shaped myself after the considerable quantities of food that I've eaten over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, absolutely, John, and that's the thing about Legoland, isn't it? It has those rides for the smaller children who is just sort of starting out. So yeah, if you've got very young children like John has, and like I have myself, and obviously Steve, Thrills and Food as well, has young little Eden. Yeah, Legoland can be a great to visit for those kids, and so it's worth going for that. And I would obviously do that because I want to build Elijah up into a roller coaster fan as well. You know, it's a family interest, if you like. So absolutely, I'd want him to get involved as early as possible. I remember we were doing Legoland with Gabriel at the age of 3. He was, I think he was exactly 3 when we did his first debut way back in 2019 now. Seems such a long time ago. Such a long time ago. But yeah, it was great, and it started off a whole. Well, look at where we went. Look at where I am now. Feel the same way about Legoland. Still visit quite a bit for the content, but we started visiting Thorpe a lot more. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same here. I used to be regularly at Legoland or Chesington. Thorpe was once a year visit up until probably 2020. Last year 2021 and 2022. So last year I made the most visits to Thorpe Park I think I've ever made in one year. It was yeah, unbelievable actually, and I do, but I don't go there for the atmosphere and the ambience. We go there purely for a thrill, don't we? Let's face it. You know, if you want atmosphere and you want theming, then you would do Legoland or Chesington, or Alton Towers even. You certainly wouldn't go to Thorpe Park for its incredible theming and an atmosphere, but it is a great thrill park, and it does hold a place in my heart. It is my home park, and I do love to go there. So, you know, yeah, I did hear, Steve, that Christmas at Legoland this year was beautiful. So I've heard a lot of good things and about that. Chesington as well. I will eventually. I did actually start this morning editing my Chesington Winter's Tale vlog. I've had it sat on the camera since I think it was the 10th or 11th of December that we went. Just not got around to doing it. I'll be completely honest with you guys. Christmas has been a tough time this year. I've never felt so unfestive, unmotivated. Just, yeah, really hard time this year. So vlogging and things, editing, all kind of got a bit put to one side, and it was just a case of getting through Christmas, really. But we've come out the other side, and it's a new year, and we're going onwards and upwards. Thanks for joining. Oscar's airtime is in the house. Lovely to see you, Em. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you're busy this evening, as you told me earlier, but it's great to have you here, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Look forward to meeting you with you at some parks as well this year. Em and family, Oscar and Dad, I think it's Chris. Met them at Fright Night. What an absolutely lovely family. Can't wait to meet up with them again. Become very good friends with them. Talk regularly now. It's absolutely lovely. Yeah, Christmas in the parks does seem to have been pretty good this year, actually. Chesington, Legoland, Alton Towers. Obviously, you know, Thorpe Park don't do a Christmas event. I'm not sure what a Christmas event at Thorpe Park would look like. I'm not sure it's one that would be particularly appealing to most families, shall we say. Sam, thanks for joining, mate. I appreciate you've got you've had your hands full considerably over the last few days. It's lovely to have you here, though. It's always a pleasure to have you knowing that that you guys are there in the chat always makes me feel better and more confident. So yeah, thank you for coming in. It's lovely to have you. Now I'm not sure who I Love Youngblood is. I've never seen. Whoever you are, welcome one and all. That's what I always say. But you obviously know Emily, and I probably know you by a different name, probably a different username, possibly. But thanks for joining. Ollie, no, that's fine, mate. Thank you for coming in. Lovely to speak to you. And hopefully we'll speak soon, and we'll catch up a bit more often. And yeah, we'll sort out that chase episode, which will be absolutely fantastic. It's always great to have you, Em. Always great. Sophia, thanks for joining. I appreciate you're a very busy lady now. For those of you that haven't seen my recent stories, Sophia's just started up a business venture called Sweets and Treats. It does have its own account on Instagram, and basically what she's offering is sweet bundles and more. I appreciate that as it goes on, there'll probably be more and more to go. So please go and check her out on Instagram and TikTok. And if you do need sweets, please consider her as your potential first port of call. Sadly, for the next 12 to 16 weeks, Sophia, I don't think I'm going to be eating many sweets because I've eaten far too many over Christmas, and my aim is by June, July to have lost 2 stone. That's roughly what I think I'm going to need to shift. I'm going to need to shift after this year and Christmas. So yeah, I might not be using your business for personal, but that's not to say I won't have by buying for gifts. I've seen some great offers coming out of the business, so looks great. And you're very welcome for the mention. Very welcome. You're a great supporter of Anxiousrider and my channel and my Instagram. So absolutely, I'd want to support you in your venture. No takeaway January. I'd like January to be a takeaway month, but not the kind of way you buy the takeaway. I'd like someone to take away all the weight I've gained over Christmas. That would be the perfect takeaway for me in January. Sam, you see, when you're as short as I am, believe you me, I've now crossed over into the overweight category according to BMIs and stuff. So I've got to get back into my healthy weight range, especially if I want to be smashing my time when I go and do Alton Towers 5K. I have signed up again this year, guys, for Alton Towers 5K. Myself and Steve have set ourselves the target of running it in less than 25 minutes. I think it was, Steve, we agreed. So we're going to be training for that quite hard, I think. I did it in 27 minutes 42 something. So hopefully we'll hi, I don't recognize the username, so I apologize. If you could drop your name that I might know you from in the chat, that would be great. My favorite Thought Park ride, I'd have to say, my enthusiast head goes on, and I say it's stealth. It's a hell of a thrill. It's absolutely mind-blowing. It's it's everything you want it to be, and it's one of the few rides where I still get off now shaking from the absolute adrenaline because of I still get anxious before I get on it. But it's absolutely amazing. But I do have a very special place in my heart for the Swarm. And the reason I have that special place is because the Swarm is my gateway coaster, if you like. It was the first big ride I attempted to tackle of my new bravery era. And once I'd got confident with the Swarm, it became the launch pad for every day I went to Thorpe Park. I'd first of all go to the Swarm, get comfortable, get confident on a coaster I knew and was happy with, and then would go and challenge myself on other rides. So the Swarm will also always have a very special place in my heart. And it is a beautifully smooth ride, and it is very unique. Well, it's unique up until May, I believe, when obviously Mandrill Mayhem, another winged coaster, will open at Chesington, which we'll talk about a bit later, but I'm very excited about. So yeah, it's thanks for joining, Sophia. Good luck with the sweets, and I will speak to you, I've no doubt, on Instagram very soon. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I thought that was the target, under 25 minutes. We'll smash that, mate. Absolutely smash it. We've got it. We've got it. Chester's hoping to do Towers Run. Would be great to work on my body and see you all again. Yeah, of course, mate. Absolutely. Run Alton Towers was a fantastic event. Loved it. Probably one of my favorite days in a theme park all year. The company, the event, the rides afterwards was just, yeah, what a great way to end the season. I mean, we talk about ending things with a bang, and that properly ended things with a bang for me. You know, it was the very last full ride operating day of the year for Alton Towers, and it was just, yeah, it was great. It was fantastic to be there and be a part of that, and obviously raising money for charity as well, which you know, is a great positive. Steve agrees with me that Stealth best ride at Alton Towers at Thorpe Park, as does Oscar's Airtime M. So yeah, absolutely, and I can see why people do love the Swarm. As I said, it's a beautifully smooth ride. It's very well themed, as Steve is saying here. A little bit on the short side, I agree, Steve. I'd love it if it was even just, I don't know, even a minute longer would make it just an absolutely awesome ride. But it is a lovely coaster. It is an absolutely lovely, lovely coaster, and it's. You wouldn't have said that a few months ago, though, would you, Chester, that Stealth was the best ride at Thorpe Park? I remember you had some real issues with Stealth, and then you challenged yourself. You got onto that, realised actually, great coaster, and now I know it's one of your favourites. So it just goes to show, doesn't it, that my number 2 coaster in the UK is the Smiler, and if I hadn't pushed myself, I would never have got on the Smiler, and would now not have the Smiler as my number 2. And I absolutely do really like the Smiler. It's not my number 1. That has to go to Icon, I'm afraid. But Smiler definitely is my number 2. It's a good ride. In versions 13 and 14, probably a little bit unnecessary, but you know, I'll take that for the rest of the ride, because it is very, very well done. And it is a good thrill, and I love a vertical lift hill. It's my worst coaster. Okay, I'm gonna have to say the coaster that I've enjoyed the least. Now, a while ago I would have said that was Rita, purely and simply because of a very bad experience on Rita that prevented me from getting back on it. I've since given Rita another chance, and she's redeemed herself, so it's no longer Rita. I would have to say it's got to be quite a close call between Grand National at Blackpool, because I didn't really enjoy the feeling of my spinal column coming up through the back of my head. You know, we're all a bit of an adrenaline junkie, but that was just a step too far. Or the Big Dipper. And the Big Dipper, because actually at one point I really did feel like I was going to fly out of the seat on Big Dipper. I think because I'm quite short in the leg, um, the whole lap barring kind of relies on you being a certain height or certain leg length to get fully sort of locked in. And I really did feel at one point like I was coming out. So that wasn't particularly enjoyable. But I think I'm going to have to go with Grand National. As Sam Coaster Tog here has just said, absolutely shocking, painful. It's one. If I go back this year, I will do it again because it's 100 years old, and then I think I'm done, unless they completely retrack it and everything. But I'm not even sure that a retrack would solve Grand National's problems. It's just naturally a bit rough. So, but it is 100 years old. You know, let's not forget that we are riding on something that is a piece of history. So, you know, and it has iconic status for good reason. But I think it's the worst coaster that I have rode. Marginally worse than Infusion, which is also quite rough. But I think if I had to choose to re-ride one or the other of those two, I probably would go with Infusion. But yeah. So oh, sorry, Steve. I know Blackpool is your home park and your baby and all of that, but yeah, I love Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and I was very privileged to spend the day there with Steve and Sam, and Dave from Dave's Adventures, of course, and James Coaster Chicken, and his good lady wife Lindsay, Coaster Hen, and we had a great day. But yeah, I wasn't impressed with Grand National, I'm afraid. I really wasn't. But Chester, I think you are one of the only ones who enjoy the Nash, as you call it. Yes, Steve, I agree that the Nick Streak, I absolutely loved that. That was a great ride. Blue Flyer, I mean, Blue Flyer, I know it's a little kid's ride really, but it was just a nice nostalgic little trip. I really love Blue Flyer. The hand operated levering of that and Nick Streak as well. Just yeah, it just was just absolutely lovely. I know I get now what you say about Blackpool as a nostalgia park. It is definitely full of like childhood memories of fun fairs and parks and things. So yeah. NESLC, they are reputed for being quite rough, aren't they, Steve? That's very true. And yes, you absolutely will get me back there, and because I do want to do the big one, and I do want to do Revolution. So unfortunately, both were down the day that we visited in October. So that's my excuse for going back. Nick Streak on the back row is a machine of beautiful airtime. I imagine it is. I think we were sat. I can't remember where we were sat, but it was. I mean, there was airtime certainly where we were sat. So I imagine at the back, yeah, you would really get that airtime feel. So yeah, and it is a great ride. I really enjoyed it. You know, it's yeah, one I certainly would go back and do again. Any retired coasters you wish you'd ridden? Oh my god, where does the list start? I think the one main ride that I missed, which sticks in my mind, purely and simply because I used to go to the park where it was located. It's not a roller coaster; it is a flat ride, and I used to look at it in awe. And my kids used to do it, or certainly my eldest used to go and do this ride, and I remember I used to stand there with the bags, looking at this ride, absolutely terrified, but in absolute awe. And that would have to be Ramesses Revenge at Chesington. I really wish that I'd discovered my big boy pants earlier and got on and done that, because it was a great ride. I know it was totally temperamental, and that's probably why, and that's the main reason they got rid of it in the end. But yeah, that's probably the ride I most wish I'd done, that I completely missed out on. I don't know of many other coasters that have retired that I'd say definitely wish I'd ridden. There probably are some, and I just probably don't remember them necessarily. But certainly that's the one ride that always sticks in my mind of modern times that I really wish I had done. So going to force myself on the back row big one at the start of April. Save my soul. Yes, absolutely, Chester. I think you will need to be, your soul will need to be saved as that. So, I'm jealous that you got to do it as a teen. Sadly, as a teen, I was such an anxiety riddled teenager that there's no way you'd have got me on any kind of ride, roller coaster, etc., etc. So yeah, but it always it was always one that I loved and loved to watch, and was always kind of always had that, you know, oh, one day I'll ride that, one day I will do it, and absolutely, Steve, if we can get a Huss top spin back in the UK, I'd be the first one to go and do it, purely and simply because I want to get there and I want to do it. So yeah. My bucket list coaster. Whew, that's another one. Where do we start? It changes all the time. Obviously, Ride to Happiness is there, and it's probably the one that's most consistently at the top of the list. If I'm going to say, currently as it stands with what's available in the UK, and we just talk UK, then I think my bucket list, there's two. There is Sick at Flamingo Land, and then there's that absolutely ludicrous, is it Odyssey up at Fantasy Island? Those are the two UK bucket list coasters, if you like, that I'd absolutely love to get on. As far as the world's concerned, wow, yeah, there's just so many. Velocicoaster, you know, is it looks beautiful. I love the Jurassic Park franchise, so that would be a great one for me. Iron Gwazi, just because I've heard so many great things about it. You know, King the Car, although I don't know that I'd ever actually be brave enough to do King the Car. I think King the Car is a stealth too far for me. But it is on the bucket list as one that I would love to be able to ride. Whether I'd actually be able to do it or not, I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely on there. So that there's quite a few, but I think for this year, Sick is the number one that I'm aiming for, because I want to be able to join in the conversations about it. You know, I feel like I've missed out, and so yeah, and I think myself and Coaster Chicken are sort of dabbling, and of course Dave from Dave's Adventures are all sort of dabbling with the idea of maybe doing a little group sort of trip there, and getting that cred. So that would be great. And as I say, I would love to get up to Fantasy Island at some point to get. I'm pretty sure it is Odyssey, as a cred too. So those are the main ones for me. My personal experience, it would have been Logger's Leap. I was about to get on it, but there was one too many of us, and I got voted out of riding, which makes me very unhappy to this day. Oh, Chester, mate, Chester. I don't like water rides. I'm not going to lie. Log flumes, water rides, not my cup of tea. The most I've braved is Tiger Rock, and Viking River Splash, but I wouldn't really call that a water log flume. That's more of a rapids, isn't it? But yeah, although I have said this year I will endeavor to conquer my fear of water rides, and I'm going to attempt to get on Tidal Wave at some point. I have pre-warned people that it will probably be in full waterproofs, because I just don't like getting soaking wet. So that's part of what puts me off tidal wave. I don't like being soaking wet. There's nothing worse for me. So full waterproofs, and I would consider getting on tidal wave. But that's one for the summer, certainly. And I don't care if I'm sweating in those waterproofs, as long as I don't get off the ride soaking wet. So yeah, that's my experience of log flumes, really. I'm not a fan. I've never been a huge fan at all. Anybody's got any other questions that they want to ask, please feel free. Appreciate we're a small gathering, but it's quite nice. Keeps it quite intimate, actually, because I know all of you almost personally, which is great. And I've met a lot of you in real life as well. So, you know, that makes chatting a lot easier, doesn't it? And a lot more, can make it more enjoyable as well. I think a hazmat suit, Chester, may be a step too far, but I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule that out. I do, however, own waterproof coat and trousers, so that'd probably be what I would opt for in order to do tidal wave. And the sweating can only help with weight loss. It's a win-win situation. It's an absolute win-win situation. Unless anyone's got any best theme park food I've ever had. I'll be honest, I actually really quite enjoyed the food I had at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in October. It didn't feel like theme park food almost. It was you know, it was more gastro pubby sort of food, I guess. And yeah, it was quite enjoyable. I had this, I think it was a chicken baguette thing with fries on the side, obviously, and it came with salad, and it was quite nicely presented. And yeah, I think that's probably the best theme park food that I've actually ever had. Certainly I've eaten some pretty dire meals at various parks, and the Merlin parks, the quality, it just jumps up and down all the time. You know, as a family, we quite often eat at Pizza Pasta because it's quite cost effective for us as a family to eat there. But the quality varies from park to park, and even from visit to visit. So, you know, it's that one's a bit can be very hit and miss. But yeah, I think, yeah, definitely Blackpool Pleasure Beach. The lunch I had there, or mid-afternoon food, however you want to describe it, was probably the most enjoyable I've had. And the fact that we got to sit right next to where Icon comes round, and where I think it was the Big Dipper comes through and Grand Nash came through, just to be sitting that close to those coasters as well, just actually made eating it even more pleasurable. So yeah. And yes, I like eating too, which is how I've gained 2 stone in the last sort of year. Sadly, I think I've been enjoying eating a bit too much. That's the name of the restaurant, Steve. Thank you. Coasters, yes. Great viewing platform to sit and eat and watch coasters go by. I mean, what more could you want as a coaster enthusiast? And as I said, and the food there as well was of a reasonable quality. So that certainly made it more worthwhile. Yes, surrounded by coasters. I mean, you know, what more could you ask for, really? You know, ideal spot. It's a shame that the Merlin parks don't have anything quite like that. I can't think of any of the Merlin parks that really are close enough to any coasters to really enjoy them. They're all set a bit back or a little bit away, aren't they? So I suppose you've got the chicken one at in X Sector, which I don't know. Can you see Oblivion from that? I don't think I've ever had to eat. I don't think I've ever eaten in there. So, always have to go Velvet Coaster just outdoors at some point. Yeah. But yeah, I think Merlin miss a trick with those. They really do need to get some. That's it. Just Chicken in X Sector. Yeah, you can see Smiler and Oblivion. But there's no out. Is there any outdoor seating for that? I can never remember. I can see it in my head and I can't see it, if that makes sense. But yeah, Just Chicken is the only one I think at Alton Towers that really gives you any real views of roller coasters. I suppose the Hunter's Lodge one, you can see the Sky Ride, but it's not quite the same, is it? It's just cable cars going overhead. So yeah, I think that's a miss. That's a miss there. Oh, it's at the back though, so you wouldn't necessarily be able to see the coasters very well, because obviously Oblivion is slightly to the left, isn't it? And Smiler's right in front of you. So if you're sat around the back, you're not really going to see very much, which is a great shame. Imagine sitting there eating your chicken burger as Oblivion comes shooting through. That would be an awesome experience, wouldn't it? But yeah, it is a shame. It's a real shame that they don't do that. But yeah, so they go. Blackpool Pleasure Beach Coasters food is my top theme park food so far. Obviously, with European park trips coming up, that may well change. I do hear better things about European park food, so it'll be quite interesting to gauge that. Obviously, Steve is the expert thrills and food, so he's the man who checks out the foods for us, and gives us that review of food availability and quality, etc., as and when he visits parks. Bucket list park. I think I've decided that it's got to be Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay. Zoodaloopas, who are another great YouTube channel, have sold me on that one. I mean, I love the idea of Florida anyway, and I've wanted to go to Florida for a very long time, not just for coasters. Before I was even a coaster enthusiast, something about Florida always made me want to go there. So yeah, and Busch Gardens Tampa Bay does seem to be an awesome park with a great variety of coasters. So I think that'd have to be my bucket list park. Although Universal as well is also a great one because of the Harry Potter area. I would love to go and see that because the pictures I've seen of the theming, Diagon Alley, etc., is yeah. So that's another one on there, but I think Busch Gardens Tampa Bay would have to be my top one. It's nice that you agree, Steve. I'm sure I'm only assuming. I'm pretty sure you've told me that you've been there. So you can obviously speak firsthand, but it does look like a great park, and I've seen some great vlogs come out of there. So yeah, they've really sold that one for me. Favorite theme park merch that I have? Oh my days! Probably not. Don't want to talk to me about theme park merch. I'm probably a theme park merch buyer's dream. I do buy a lot of merch, and I currently have 22 theme park related mugs. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 ride medals, of which I'm very proud. I have just under 100 pin badges. I've recently started collecting the little cuddly toy bits as well, which is going to just end up costing me even more money. I got one of the crows from Fright Nights, and I've also got the skeleton fella from Scarefest. So, but favorite piece of merch, my favorite piece. I'm gonna have to say it's probably my Smiler medal, purely and simply because it, for me, that and my stealth medal. Actually, I'm gonna put them on a par because those two medals are significant for me, and they are real memorabilia of achievements that I've conquered. Stealth, obviously, was a coaster that even a couple of weeks before I got on stealth, if you'd have said to me, "You're going to do stealth in a couple of weeks," I would have laughed at you and gone, "Never, never, I'm never getting on that ride. I'll never, ever, ever." And I was already into my journey by that point, conquering rides, but I never felt that I would ever get on stealth. So that, and then the Smiler as well was another one that I just felt I would never get on it. It was very intimidating. It's such a huge thing, and that sort of black twisted metal look that it has just makes it look even more intimidating. But I did it and got my medal. So yeah, those are my two favorite pieces of theme park merch, I think. Smiler medal and my stealth medals. If any of you are interested and don't know, I actually did a series on YouTube back in the day, in my very early days, called Medal Monday, where I went through my medal collection and talked about how I got them, what I went through to get them, etc., and just talked about a bit about the stories behind each medal. So if you've never checked that out, please go and have a look at that, because again, it gives you a little bit more backstory to who I am and where I've come, and how far I've come. So yeah, I think Hershey Park, yeah, Wildcats Revenge, yeah, I've seen a lot of talk about that actually. The new trains look absolutely awesome, so I can see why you'd want to go there. Currently saving up for Ride to Happiness merch. That stuff is expensive. Belgium seems to be quite an expensive country, so I can imagine the merch for that is, but is it good quality merch? Because obviously, you don't mind paying a bit more for merch if it's quality merch and not just trash. So it's sometimes you get what you pay for. Favorite ride that you were most anxious to ride? Stealth. Absolutely stealth, 100%. Until I was actually sat and pinned into that train, there was still a very big part of me that doubted I was going to do it. And it still intimidates me to this day. I still get anxious, and there's still days when I can't get on it because the anxiety just gets the better of me. And I always hate those days because I feel awful on those days that it's beaten me again. Anybody who suffers with anxiety will know that you never totally are over it. It can always come back and get you, and some days it does. And stealth is one of those rides where, because I know it's going to make me anxious, it's going to make me nervous, and that is part of its appeal as well. But some days it's just too much and I just can't beat it, and the anxiety beats me, and I don't do stealth those days. So I don't do stealth every trip to Thorpe Park, sadly. But I do try and do it as often as I can, because I know the more often I do it, the more comfortable I'll become with doing it. But yeah, it's definitely the one that made me the most anxious ever to get on. Probably only matched anxiety-wise with my first ever time on the Swarm. Not because the Swarm is a roller coaster to make people anxious, but it was the first step on my journey to beating the big roller coasters and getting on them all. Swarm was the first one, so it was the one I was really sweating and anxious and just everything. if you've got anxiety, you probably know it affects you in so many ways. It affects bowels and stomachs and breathing and throats and just everything. You know, it's quite a. It was yeah. So yeah, stealth for me absolutely was the one that made me feel the absolute worst. And as I say, to this day, still makes me uncomfortable before I get on it. But I've never walked away from it and not done it. I usually know beforehand now whether I'm going to be able to do it and whether it's worth me even queuing up for it. And it does help when I've got confident riders with me. I think I've done stealth with 4 people actually. 4 different people I've done stealth with who I absolutely felt totally safe in their hands and with them as co-riders. And they were my wife, who I trust implicitly despite her swarm untruth. A lady called Anne, who is in the Merlin Annual Pass Holders Facebook group, who I met up with at Thorpe Park. Lovely, lovely lady. Got on, did stealth with her. Again, very calming person. Dave from Dave's Adventures got me on stealth, which, you know, was absolutely fantastic. And Sam Coaster Tog is the other one who got me on stealth as well. Chester, you may well join that. Oh, yeah, Andy and Chester. I'm going to have people queuing up now, aren't I, to ride stealth with me? That's fine by me. I spend a lot of time at Thorpe Park, so there'll be and of course, yes, definitely I'll have to get on it with you, definitely. And I feel quite confident I'd be able to get on it with yourself because, as I say, you know, we've spoken quite a lot and we've become friends, and that's a good step for me for feeling comfortable with somebody to push on and do a ride like that. So I definitely think I'd be able to, almost certainly be able to get on it with you. Other people, it will probably depend on the day. Please excuse me, I've just lost an earbud. But I would certainly do my best to get on with people. I do like doing co-rides. I bet you have, Chester. I bet you have got a very long list. And yeah, it's I like to get rides in with people, new people and stuff. Stealth's not one that I generally go to as a new person I met at a theme park ride. But yeah, it's always nice to catch a ride with some new people, isn't it? Well, I think I'm going to call it a night. Had some good questions come in. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. As I said, it was very, very quickly planned, very quickly put together. I just wanted to see, first of all, I love going live like this, and I love doing nervous chat because it's a live stream. And so I obviously wanted to do this as a chance, 1, for you guys to ask me questions, 2, as another opportunity to do lives. You know, I do love doing lives and I do love talking to people. And, you know, I think I'm better at lives than I am at vlogging. I'm not going to lie. I think my vlogs are okay, but this is more my forte. I love doing lives. And on that note, keep your eyes peeled for an announcement about something that Coaster Chicken, James, and I are working on, hopefully to bring you soon. You may have seen over the last week, I put out some stories and some polls about a BBC TV program called Room 101. The setup was 3 guests and a host. There would be 3 topics, if you like, given to the guests. Each guest could choose one thing from each topic. that they would like to get rid of forever, basically, put it into Room 101. Room 101 is the BBC's dumping room, if you like. And the idea was that each one of the guests would take it in turns for each topic to try to convince the host that the thing they wanted to put in Room 101 should go into Room 101. It was quite great. It was quite good. It was a good laugh. And so what we're trying to do is just tinker with that a little bit and get it into, make a roller coaster version of it. So, you know, it would be 2 or 3 guests, and you choose a roller coaster, a flat ride, and maybe a theme park. I don't know. This is just a rough idea we've got at the moment. And then you try to convince the host which one you try to convince the host that the one you've chosen to put into Room 101 is the one that should go in. So yeah, that's something that we're working on at the moment. It's very much in the planning stages, and you know, but we are hoping to bring that to you, because I think it would be great to do, and it would be lovely to get a couple of people in, bit of banter, a bit of disagreement, you know. Yeah, I think that'd be a lovely one. And there's other ideas as well. I'd always have about 1 million ideas buzzing around in my head for things that I want to do. And doing more lives is certainly something that I think I'd like to do more of in the future. But yeah, so that's the update for that one. So keep your eyes open for that one. That one's almost definite will go ahead. Others are still very, very much pencil scribbles in my planning book. So yeah, Andy, thank you for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yes, I'll see you at Alton Towers on the 18th. Yeah, it was a great show, wasn't it, Em? I absolutely loved it. I used to love watching Room 101. And the Russell Howard clip that I posted about the children, the moody children, was hilarious. And it's the most watched reel I've ever posted on Instagram. I think it's had like 14,000 views so far. So it just shows my reels are rubbish, but I post a bit of a Room 101, and bang, everybody watched it. So that's just shows, doesn't it, how people will watch and what they watch. Yes, thanks, Ellie and Richard. And also, before I go, I do have to obviously give it another plug. Nervous Chat, Monday night, 8 p.m. Ellie and Richard, who've been in the chat tonight, the Mediocre Travel Blog, are coming into the studio. We're going to be talking about date nights at Gulliver's. And I'm not going to say any more about that. And all sorts of other things about their channel and their vlogging and them. And, well, you know the deal. You know, I will grill them as much as I can in the time I have. So Monday night, 8 o'clock, please come and join us. We always have a bit of a giggle. It's very laid back. You can ask questions, and, you know, and yeah, I enjoy it. And I think Ellie and Richard will enjoy it too. And I'm certainly going to enjoy getting to know them. So Monday night, 8 o'clock, join in for that. Until then, it's a good night from me, and I will see you all soon. Take care for now.